business can fail, but our marriage cannot.
I think we will never ever reach a perfect equilibrium.
This year, I feel so much better, like mentally.
You shouldn't believe people who tell you that, like, you only live once. There are risks to take, there are risks not to take. Hi, I'm Kelvin.
I'm Crystal.
We've been married for close to 10 years now, and together we run Grow Public Relations.
Today, in this video, we're going to talk about how it's like being married and running a company together. I will be asking Kelvin some questions, and then Kelvin will be asking me some questions as well. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go through the questions. Do you remember when we discussed working together? I think I started a business first, right? I was freelancing, and then it kind of grew. I started to hire people, and then you were doing internet marketing, right? And then I kind of felt like the team was growing, and I needed somebody in who was a bit more detail oriented to be sort of like my co-founder, to support me in all like the administrative or like, not really administrative, but the like finance and more detail-oriented matters of the company, right? Do you remember how was it like? Were you excited for it? Were you a bit like working with my wife kind of thing? How was it like for you?
No thoughts. I just joined off.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. So like, I mean, like, did you, because you were doing your own thing also, like internet marketing and stuff like that, was it intimidating, or was it like, do you feel anything, or just like, okay,
No,
I just need to come in
nothing.
and
I just
see?
need to come in and support you on know what you need to do, that's all.
Okay, okay, got it. So your next question is for me.
Okay, next question. You know, in Singapore, right, people always say that like you shouldn't work with your partner. Yeah, what do you feel about it?
Okay. I think yes, it's a question we always get, right? Like, you're okay to work together? Y'all see each other every day, you know, like see each other at home. We have a child together. There was some period where we were working out together, and then we see each other at work as well, right? We're always together. So like, don't you get bored with each other? Don't y'all fight? Don't y'all have very different perspectives and stuff like that? How is it like, right? And then when I tell people, oh, it's good, it's fine, right? You know, like, then they will say, I'm not sure if I can believe you, or I should talk to your husband first to get a real perspective of how it's really like. Yeah. So, for me, I personally feel that because from when we were dating until now, we've been very mild people. We don't really fight. Usually when we have issues, right, we will just like talk about it. Like, I don't think either of us are hot-tempered, right?
No.
And like, I think
we do have disagreements.
we do have disagreements, but my perspective is always that it's important for us to talk about it. So that's
same.
how it has been like in our marriage. So when it comes to work, then it takes on that same kind of flow, I feel. Definitely, I feel like at the start when we first started working together, it was a bit more difficult. But then, like, I think it's been a couple of years now, right? And then when we get more into the groove of things, then it becomes a bit easier for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then this is going to that, right? So when we started working together, did you think it would affect our relationship? Like, it was a bit harder at the start, right? Maybe talk about that.
My working style is a little bit more structured. Yeah. Because coming from a background where, you know, structure is very important, right? My modus operandi and like, you know, doing things are always, you know, you have to go from step 1 to step 10 in a very systemic way, systematic way. But for you, I feel that you tend to hop around very quickly, you know, in different aspects of the business, you know, from sales to even marketing, you know, content creation and stuff like that. So you are a little bit all over the place. Yeah. That's what I feel. Yeah. And also to work with you, it can be difficult because your instructions can be quite messy at times.
And then how do you learn to, I mean, like, how do you have to adapt to that?
I have to keep asking you. And even when I keep asking you, right, like sometimes you just don't get. I just feel like you cannot convey the instructions down properly. But other than that, I think you're quite reasonable. You do take feedback in and reflect on what our colleagues tell us, what I tell you. So I think there are pros and cons lah. Everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses, right? Yeah. So I think this is one aspect of work that I have to adapt to lah. Your style of working.
Yeah. So from my perspective, right, it's like because we are a startup, right? So like we are starting things out from scratch. So everything has to move very quickly, right? And in the initial years, the company really did grow very, very fast, right? Yeah. And the thing is that because Calvin was from more like a military background, so things are very structured and stuff like that. He's used to a very chill pace of life. My perspective is this.
I wouldn't say chill lah. I would say a more
more comfortable.
No, I don't think so. I think if you say like
it's
to
a more comfortable.
people who use
You were in internet marketing for a while, right? So like you
okay. I wouldn't say it's chill, but I would attribute it to more the fact that there is like from where I was, there is a very clear direction, very clear
like step
directives
by step.
and
It's very
processes to follow.
process step by step.
So every day of my life, I know what to do next. Yeah, I don't have to, punch through new frontiers lah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which this punching through new frontiers thing is what you kind of have to do when you're starting our business.
Correct.
Because
So
you are setting everything
I think we
up,
were from
creating
very
from scratch.
different settings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
correct.
So to put us together in a totally new setting, right?
Yeah.
Requires us to adapt
Yeah.
to this specific situation
Correct.
now. Looking back, right, what was the one thing you didn't expect when we officially combined our marriage with work, with business?
Yeah. I think that one thing that I didn't expect that is that I feel that we're a lot more aligned. Right? A lot more aligned in the sense that like probably if I was running the business and you were in your job, right? And I maybe need you to help to step in for certain things and stuff like that. You may not understand. Right? You may think that like, oh, why are you throwing the childcare duties to me? When I also have a job, right? Are you saying that just because you run a business, then your job is more important than me? Yeah, so that is something that we don't have to deal with because we are quite aligned. We know what the business needs at this point of time, right? Then we are able to support each other in that space lah, right? And I feel that one thing that one thing that comes out of running a business together as a couple, right, is that I think couples sometimes maybe drift apart because you run out of things to talk about. Right. But we never run out of things to talk about because we always have work to talk about. It may not be a very good thing, but a lot of our conversations revolve around work.
Yeah, but this doesn't answer the question.
Yeah.
The question is what is the one thing you didn't
expect?
Yeah,
so I'm talking about it now. Okay. Right. So when we combine marriage and business together, right, our relationship becomes a bit more aligned because we have common grounds of topic and also because we have common grounds in terms of like our goals, our learnings, and that way there's a greater alignment lah in who we are as people. Because in your marriage, right, you are kind of growing as people as well. Yeah. The issue happens in couples when your goals or your alignment kind of goes apart. But because our lives are so intertwined, then we kind of are forced to run together.
So you didn't expect this lah?
I didn't expect it
to be so what?
Yeah.
To be so to be us so
aligned
or adaptable to each other.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah. To be so like I know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what I'm doing. Right? If we had our own jobs, maybe we'll be able to talk about it, but we may not be able to fully relate.
Okay, as Singaporeans, right, we are used to being efficient and practical. So how did we have to adjust our communication style to make things work between us?
Okay. I think right, this is probably something that applies to a lot of couples, whether you all work together or not, or you don't work together. But I think people have a tendency to sweep things under the carpet and not talk about things. right? And then when there are things that you're not happy with, you have maybe certain expectations of your partner, and then you just let it boil, and then you simmer, and then it becomes like a pressure cooker, right? That eventually it explodes. So I think being Singaporeans, if we want to be efficient and practical about our communication, right, then the most important thing is to talk about things, talk about everything that you have issues with your better half, right? Maybe I don't like the way that you put the toothbrush this way, or like I don't like the way that you speak to me this way, or I think you are too fast in certain things. I think it's important to be open with each other in terms of how we communicate, and that's the most effective and if that's the most efficient and practical, because that's the way to do it, right? The only thing is that the other couple, your better half may not take this feedback too well, right? So I think it has to be both ways. Firstly, the person who is not happy should be open with giving feedback, and the other person who is going to take in the feedback should be open enough to acknowledge that we are all flawed people, and that sometimes we disagree, sometimes we may not always operate the way that everybody likes, but that's just how it is. And we learn and we grow along the way. Yeah. Is there any challenge we face that you feel ended up being a blessing in disguise?
I think during the end of 2022 or 2023, right, when our payments processes were still quite messy, how we used to invoice clients is 50% upfront and then 50% at the end of the project. And that's the problem, you see, because what this opens us up to, right, is clients can actually take advantage of that. Yeah, and they can run away, without paying, saying that we didn't hit our KPI, giving a lot of excuses.
Saying we didn't hit our KPI even after we have hit our KPI.
Yeah.
To clarify.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So I think at that point in time we were still quite young. Yeah, and still less
New in
experienced.
our business.
Yeah.
Newer as business owners.
Correct. Correct. So I think this actually opened our eyes up to reworking our system to make it more firm lah. And so we did an overhaul of our payments processes, and we started to change the way we collect monies from our clients. Yeah, to make sure that because as a small business we really operate on cash flow. We need sufficient cash flow to actually go forward to even do a good job for our clients, right? So yeah, so I think this is actually one blessing, even though it's a challenge at first, because it takes this kind of challenge to help us to learn this kind of lesson. The second thing is hiring. Yeah, so over the years we revamped our hiring processes, right, many times. Because we have come across let's just put it this way, like psychotic employees, or from psychotic employees
Difficult people.
okay,
Yeah.
difficult employees to
Yeah.
really people who betray us lah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have one
I
who
think when
even
you-
stole our IP, right?
I think when you run a business, right, or like if you are starting to run a business, one thing to take note of is that people will hurt you in
Yeah.
whatever shape or form, right? People will hurt you, right? So we really need to steel ourselves in a way, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs start out wanting to be very good bosses. You want to be friends with your colleagues, you want to build a friendly environment and stuff like that. But then after a while, you just realize that there's too many complexities involved. It's not a friendship, right?
Still remember
We run a
you
company
crying
together.
at Lau Pa Sat,
Yeah. Have many moments of like mental breakdowns. But it's part of.
And you were more affected by people leaving the company than clients not paying up. That's one thing I don't get it.
Yeah, but even in those cases, we were the ones who let people go lah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think those are cases where I was kind of affected, but it was really difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are my two challenges that actually turn into blessings because we learn a lot from our failures.
Agreed.
How has working together make you see both our business roles and personal roles differently?
Okay. Work has a tendency to consume us a lot. right? Like, like I said, like most of our conversations are about work, right? And because there's just so many things to do, you're running a business, you want to like grow the business, you want to take it to another level and stuff like that. Just so many things to talk about and so many things to think about, so many things to do. But I think at the start, when it was a bit difficult and we were like having a bit of heated conversations among us about how we should do it. Why are you doing things this way? Why am I speaking this way? Da da da. When we had all these conversations, I remember I said to you once that, our marriage should be above the business, right? That the business can fail, but our marriage cannot, right? And realizing that this business is a part of our lives, but it's not our entire lives. We are husband and wife, we are parents, we are sons, we are daughters, right? So accepting that our marriage should be above the importance, realizing that our marriage is more important than the business at the end of the day. And I think seeing a lot of couples who had quite bad breakups in terms of business and marriage publicly is also a good sign, right, of what to take note of. The next question is, what's one thing that we've learned? I'm asking you a question, right? So it should be, what's one thing that you've learned from working together that you think has actually improved our relationship?
Active listening. In the years we have been working together, right, there is one thing that you constantly remind me of, and that's to listen actively and not just jump to conclusions. Yeah, so I think the past year I've been learning how to do so, and I see that, by listening and asking more questions, you really get to see the other perspective, of the person lah. Yeah, the one you are having a conversation with. I mean, of course, at the end of the day, I think it can translate into relationships also. It's not just in business, right? It's a skill that everyone should pick up.
Yeah. So shout out to Chris Voss. Never split the difference on negotiation tips. If you watch Masterclass, right, you would see his tactics when it comes to negotiation, right? And I think when it comes to negotiation, it's not about like just you having to close a deal or anything like that, but about how you can understand the other person's side a lot better. We use tactics like mirroring.
Psyche.
Like mirroring. We use certain techniques to better understand their perspective, because I think coming from my perspective, right, is that in the past when talking to you, or even sometimes now, and talking to you, you will have a tendency to listen to the first part of the conversation and jump to a conclusion and respond to that without listening to the whole thing, right? So that's a like issue that you kind of working with, right?
What's something I've taught you at work that you didn't expect to learn from?
I think this is a lesson that you've been trying to teach me from last year to this year. And I think this year I've made good progress with it, which is to not be so obsessed with work. Right? Like
I thought it's to give proper instructions. What's your instructions? Seriously.
No, I still think that my instructions are fine. I think you're the problem. Okay, anyway. But so I'm going to talk about like how you teach me to not be so obsessed with work, right? I think since starting the business, every month I monitor the revenue very, very closely. Whenever we have a good month, I get on a huge high. And when we have a lower month, then I just crash, right? But this year it's been different, right? Not because the business is better or a lot more stable. In fact, the market is in quite a scary place. But I think it's more for me to be okay with that and reaching that mental state that, we're doing okay. Like, I mean, like, to not be so obsessed with it and to find myself, to find things beyond work. And that's what I have been learning from you a lot more this year, to take it a lot more chill. I have a lot less breakdowns this year.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot less breakdowns this year.
You're more chill. You're more chill this year. Yeah, which is good lah.
I feel this year I feel so much better, like mentally. And not just because, and really this is not because we are doing very, very good as a business, but it's really coming to terms and with myself lah.
Yeah. Okay, I think the next question, right, is it can be asked of the both of us.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next question is this, if a Singaporean couple, right, asks for advice on working together, what would we tell them? Okay, maybe you can start from you first, lah.
Okay, actually, I know of a lot of couples who work together and then they work quite well together as well. So I really think that it depends on the couple's dynamics. If there are issues in your marriage that you have not resolved yet, and these issues are quite deep seated, then if you guys work together on a business, these issues would kind of erupt like a volcano because the challenges that you face would be amplifying these issues that you have, right? But I think it's the same for every kind of relationship, right? Whenever you're put to the test, whether you run a business together or you go on a holiday and then you see a lot more of each other, it kind of erupts. So I feel that like couples who fight as a result of the business or as a result of working together, it's really not the issue at hand, right? But it's a more deep-seated issue that hasn't been resolved yet. So is my advice, do I advise couples to work together on a business? I would say that if your marriage is okay, go ahead. If you're going through some like marital issues, therapy, then maybe don't take that leap first. Chill. Yeah.
I would ask the young couple, right, where they are financially first. Yeah, because I think we live in a world that is really just money talks. Yeah. And if you're not financially ready, because let's face it, business has so much cost, operational costs. If you want to do like brick and mortar store kind of business, there's even more overheads that you have to stress over. And if you do not have the financial capability to do so, right, to even support your own self, then it is really, really unwise to start a business.
You can start a side hustle.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah, it's very different. It's very different. Yeah, to throw yourself into the deep end of the
Quit your job and jump
the
into
pool,
it.
right?
May
Yeah,
not be
it's
the
not.
best decision.
Yeah, so I think for me, I would ask the young couple, where are you guys financially? Is your spouse or your other half, stable? Yeah, and then before you dive in.
Okay.
Yeah, you shouldn't believe people who tell you that like, you only live once, you dump everything and start a business, it's all or nothing, These are stupid advice. Yeah. That's how people go bankrupt, you see. Yeah. So there are risks to take, there are risks not to take. Yeah.
Do you think we found the right balance between work and personal life?
I think we will never ever reach a perfect equilibrium
Oh my gosh.
when it comes
I was just
to
thinking of that.
when it comes to finding the balance between work and personal life,
Yeah.
because humans are so dynamic. Yeah. And when we set for ourselves, a plan to constantly do this every day, a little shift in our life, right, can actually just disrupt everything. What if you fall sick one day?
Yeah.
What if you suddenly, something happens that causes you to be like in financial distress and stuff like that. And then, it trickles down into every aspect of life, right? So the balance is like thwarted already, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that you will never find it lah.
Yeah.
You just have to like in my old unit, right, we call it feel and flow, we adapt as a situation, presents itself lah. Yeah.
And I think like in the past year, right, I learned that there's no perfect business, there's no perfect month, like revenue wise, there's no perfect there's no perfect business which will always be on the rise or like always have a great income and not have any financial issues at all, right? So I think the same applies for work, same applies for marriage. There's no such thing as a perfect partner. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage. There's no such thing as a perfect job. To me, it's all about expectations at the end of the day and being contented with what you have. And if you really feel like there's certain issues with the situation that you are in, then be bold enough cut that out or to leave in some form. If you could give advice to your younger self about working with your partner, what would you say?
I think this question applies to both of us, so later you answer it. For me, I would tell my younger self, buy Bitcoin. Yeah, nothing to do with work, nothing to do with business, because imagine 2010, Bitcoin. How much was it? I think
Then
it
we
was like
probably
a few
wouldn't need
cents.
to be working
Yeah, then we
together.
won't be here, and then
We won't be making this video.
yeah. So buy Bitcoin. Yeah, if I could go back in time. Yeah. You?
Okay, so that's the advice that you give. No, I don't know if I told you this before, you remember. But I remember when we were still in school and then we were not dating yet. I remember we were asking each other, we were in a conversation with friends. You were there as well, I was there, right? Because we were in the same class in poly. And then I think we were asking each other, what do you think we would want to do when we're growing up? And then I remember I said something like, I want to do something meaningful. And then somehow at the back of my mind, I had a feeling that that thing that I would be doing would involve you.
Really? Wait, were we dating?
No, we're not.
Oh.
It's weird, right? But yeah, I remember that conversation vividly, right? I had this weird feeling that this thing that I would be doing would involve you. Yeah. So
is that meant to be like a silent confession? I don't know, like a secret confession?
So it's not advice. It's not advice to my youngest self, but maybe looking back, like it's really serendipity.
You haven't really answered the question, right? So what would you what would you
What advice?
Yeah, what would you give her?
No. What
Any specific advice, like
the advice that I give to my younger self is don't say no and just go for it. Because
that's better, right?
I've never said no. I've never said no. Whenever things come, right? Like okay, like
then that's not really advice, really, right? Like something that you wouldn't do, and then you.
I literally look back. I don't regret anything in my life. So what?
Correct, but
what
what
advice can I give myself?
anything that I don't like if you tell your younger self don't say no, your younger self will probably say, yeah, okay, I know this really because I don't really say no.
Yeah, but I wouldn't also say to start earlier, you see, because like I'm appreciative that I started at a specific time. I'm appreciative that I worked for a number of years. So I wouldn't say start earlier. I would say never say no, but never say no is something that I'll always be doing.
Correct.
Yeah. And a lot of things that, let's say, I learn now as compared to when I didn't know before that, right? All these things I learned along the way, so I wouldn't advise myself to do that. So I have no advice for myself, basically. I'm perfect.
I got one for you. Tell Crystal, younger Crystal, to tell younger Kelvin not to sell Solana.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. So I would advise myself to tell you to buy Bitcoin lah. Even when we were not dating, I would tell you to buy Bitcoin. Yeah.
So nothing much lah.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that's the end of what we want to share. Thank you for watching.
My name is Kelvin.
My name is Crystal.
If you like this type of content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.